Each time we blink, the seconds nearing the election come closer and closer. And as we all know, it is a big portal to change, which we've been striving for the longest time. How would we be able to contribute without the proper knowledge of what's to come? Samahan niyo kami sa pag-dive in sa world of democracy and its purpose on today's episode of Voter'z Gen. Ano nga ba ang democracy? According to Merriam-Webster, ito ay form of government kung saan people choose by voting. It is also known as a government for the people, rule of majority. Ibig sabihin nito ay lahat ng tao ay may karapatang bumoto. Pero tayo ba ay democratic country? The politics of the Philippines take place within a three-branch government system. The country is a democracy, led by a directly elected president who is both the head of state and head of government. What are those three branches? First is legislative branch. This branch has the primary control. So sila ang gumagawa ng mga laws, in charge sa tax, etc. Followed by executive branch. The head of this branch is the president, at sila rin ang nagpapatupad ng mga batas. Lastly, judicial branch. Sila yung in charge sa pag-interpret at pag-apply ng mga laws. The duties of the judicial branch include the following: interpreting state laws, settling legal disputes, punishing violators of the law, hearing civil cases, protecting individual rights granted by the state constitution, determining the guilt or innocence of those accused of violating the criminal laws of the state, and acting as a check upon the legislative and executive branches of state government. With that being discussed, paano nga ba naging democratic country ang Pilipinas? The 1896 revolution was the culmination of a succession of revolts against Spanish oppression. On June 12, 1898, leaders of the revolution declared the country's sovereign state and proclaimed the first republic of the Philippines, the first constitutional democracy in Asia. Let us take a look at the history of our democracy. On 1896, Filipinos staged the first nationalistic revolution in Asia against the Spaniards. It was the culmination of a succession of revolts against Spanish oppression. On June 12, 1898, leaders of the revolution declared the country's sovereign state and proclaimed the first Republic of the Philippines, the first constitutional democracy in Asia. On 1898, the Philippines was colonized by the United States of America. This lasted until July 4, 1946. On January 2, 1942, the Japanese occupied Manila. This lasted until September 2, 1945. On July 5, 1945, Douglas MacArthur liberated the entire Philippines. On July 4, 1946, the Republic of the Philippines was proclaimed by Manuel Rojas as president. On September 23, 1972, martial law was declared by the late President Ferdinand Marcos. On February 25, 1986, the People Power Revolution commenced, restoring the country's democracy, which led to the proclamation of the late President Corazon Aquino. Now knowing this, lahat ng Pilipino ay may karapatang bumoto in order to strive for the change we've longed for. Here are a few things you need to know about voting. Presidential elections are held every 6 years, and senatorial elections are held every 3 years. Voting age in the Philippines is 18. What are the requirements for voting in the Philippines? There are two generally recognized forms of acquiring Philippine citizenship: Filipino by birth, Filipino by naturalization, which is the judiciary act of adopting a foreigner and clothing him with the privileges of a native-born citizen. After running through all of those, you may still ask, why is it important to vote? Another responsibility of citizens is voting. The law does not require citizens to vote, but voting is a very important part of any democracy. By voting, citizens are participating in the democratic process. Citizens vote for leaders to represent them and their ideas, and the leaders support the citizens' interests. Voting is one important way that we can participate in our democracy. In order to vote for president in a federal election, a citizen must be 18 or older. Besides voting for officials, we also vote on issues. Voters may want to make changes to their community, such as building bigger schools or adding new roads. We can contact our government officials when we want to support or change a law. Voting in an election and contacting our elected officials are two ways that Filipinos can participate in our democracy.